Hey everyone, welcome to Workshop and Home. Today I'm going to put passive entry on this 2019 Ram 1500. Actually, the truck's dirty and I'm just going to replace parts until it's clean again. So my truck is a Bighorn edition, and one of the biggest complaints I see online, and I agree with, it doesn't come with passive entry. That's where you can open the door without taking the key out of your pocket, which would make sense since it's a push button start. My wife and I have a Jeep Grand Cherokee that does have passive entry on it, and now it's got me spoiled, and so we're doing this today. So I got all the parts I need to make this happen, and I got the parts list and the instructions from the 5th Gen Rams forum. I'll put that link down in the description below. So the first step in this is to get this door panel off. It helps to have a trim tool, and then I guess there's some 10mm bolts in here that we have to take off. And I actually might need a small screwdriver. Just be careful with this, it'll scratch pretty easy. So after getting this top trim piece out, I can tell you this little clip here, that's a pain to get out. So just be careful, go slow, it'll come out. I know it's hard to see, but this bottom panel, where you pry it up from, is really hard to get anything in there. So I actually use this pick, kind of a weird shaped pick. I'm sure I picked this up from Horrible Freight, so that worked. So now you just need a 10mm socket to get these 3 bolts out of here. Okay, the next step in this is to get this door panel pulled out, and this is kind of the cringe part because you got to pull on these clips. Fortunately, on the side over here, mine is actually coming out already, so maybe actually kind of easy to get those clips out. Yep. These just kind of pull out, so there we go. There. All right, that's looks like I just gotta pop this top piece back into place, but yeah, it helps to have something to set this on. There's couple of things holding this up. So one is the window connector, window and door lock connector. Pull that out, and the other is the door latch or the door handle. That has to be taken out. It helps to have something to set that on. I'm using a 5-gallon bucket. Okay, so now that that panel is off, I think the next thing we want to do is get this mirror harness out of the way. There's a couple little clips here in B and C, looks like, in that module. And then there's some clips that hold this wire in. I'm just using my trim tool to pull those out. If you don't have a set of trim tools, they're really good to have. This one especially I use a lot. Now we got to get this window rolled down, so I plugged the switch back in here, and then there's these two little plugs here. And when the window's down, you can see the bolts to unbolt it. It doesn't come all the way down. But the switch is hard because it's auto up and down. There we go. And these are 10 millimeters also. Doesn't look like we need to remove those completely. Just enough to slide the window up out of the way. So now before we move on, we've got to get this wiring harness connector out of the body side here, and that's where we're going to hook our new harness into. Okay, now that I got that harness off, and now after I fought with that harness for about a half an hour, I got it out. Just take your time if you're doing this. It'll come out, and you know, you probably won't break anything like I did. So now we're going to get the window up, so I'm just grabbing some tape, and I'm going to tape this window up here. All right, now we got the window out of the way, we can go ahead and remove these 10 millimeter bolts. Yeesh. I believe that's all of them. And now we'll go ahead and get this outside part of the handle off here, and there's a little T25 screw in there. You kind of need this long shank to get in there. Okay, just have to get this out enough to release this cap, and there's the cap off the handle there. So now that the cap's off, we can grab this handle and slide it back, and that'll pop out just like that. And we just want to remove these door latch screws, and those are a T27. And since we took the door handle off, there's a screw right here. That's a T25. We want to loosen that. We don't want to remove it, just loosen it. Now back to this carrier plate assembly, we should be able to remove this now. What I failed to do first is to remove this grommet here with our wiring harness. Just gonna get in the way. Before you pull this out, you actually have to push this wiring harness through the door. All right, there it is. Okay, and now I got these wiring harnesses for the doors and for the rear antenna. I bought these from a member on the 5th Gen Rams forum. It'd be hard to see, but there is a grommet here. On this door, and that's where these wires are going to feed through from the back side. So I'm using this pick here to go through the grommet, through the hole that's there already, and I'm going to try to feed this wire through it. First one's through. Get the second one in there. There we go. Okay, now that I got the wire routed how I want it, I need to pin this connector, and there's little tabs on the side that you can push out the top of the connector so that you can push a terminal into. And the pin locations are in the forum post. Go ahead and tape these grommets back up. Okay. Okay, now that all the wires are routed, it's time to get this carrier back into place, and this is going to be fun. get this mirror controls hooked back up too. Plug these window holes back up. There we go. All right, I think we're ready to put the door handle on. All right, I got the door handle back on, and now it's time to get the panel back on. Panel time. So this for this panel that kind of broke off there, I was able to plastic epoxy it here. It actually worked pretty well. So for the door panel, you just got to get the door handle cable back on. That should just snap right in. Get my bucket. There we go. Now this cable for the window and the door locks needs to come through. And then we'll fit this lock back in its slot. There we go. Well, are you gonna line up? Get our trim pieces back in. There we go. And then the window go uppy downy and the door locks. Well, I just got to do the driver's side and then put the antenna in the back. Here's a tip to put the door panels back on. They're a little tough to go in, and these little clips that hold the panel on, they like to break or they don't seat far enough anymore. So it's a good idea to pick some of these up. There's actually two different kinds. One's a little bigger than the other, but that'll save you a lot of headaches. If I was going to do this again and pull the panels off, I'd actually just buy a full set of these and replace them all. Now I need to go under the bed and put the last piece in, which is this antenna. So I got everything hooked back up here, the new wiring in. Here I got the antenna installed, and then got the wiring run around here and zip tied to this other wiring, and then back down to this plug over here. So I've got everything wired in. I just have the programming left to do, and I'm not going to go into detail on that. There's a lot of information out there on how to do programming on this. Until the next time, this is Workshop and Home. Bye!